Youngpreneurs Podcast, episode number 182 with your host, Victor Ahipeni. What's up, world? Another day, another podcast. And today I've got Liz Grossman from Baobab Consulting, and she shares some awesome stories on her journey and how she's making an impact around the world. And it's a super inspiring story, so I'm sure you're all going to enjoy it. And as always, you can jump over to passiveincomeyoung.com where you can grab all of the show notes and everything that we talked about, plus some other cool resources that I've set up just for you to make sure that you succeed. Now, what we've got is, if you want to jump over to the Facebook, you can check out a couple of groups that I have going. One is a brand new one, and one is directly linked to this. The first one is the Young Entrepreneurs Mastermind. Both of these are free groups, so if you type in Young Entrepreneurs Mastermind, you can request to join that. We've got nearly 500 other inspiring young entrepreneurs, including some of our past guests in there who can help you along on your journey. And there's also something else that I've been working on in the public speaking space, and it's the Powerful Public Speaking group. So if you jump into Facebook and search Powerful Public Speaking free support group, you'll be able to request to join there, and it's a brand new group with daily inspiration, motivation, and training on how you can become the public speaker that you always wanted to. So, without further ado, let's jump into the episode. And as always, guys, keep living life on your own terms. You're listening to the Youngpreneurs Podcast, the number one resource online for under 35-year-olds, where we chat twice a week to the most inspiring entrepreneurs in the world. We have it all. If you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or actionable tips to help you transition from that job into a business, or if you're ready to take that business to a whole new level, then this is the place to be. Get ready to live life on your own terms. Youngpreneurs, welcome to another episode of the Youngpreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Victor Ahipeni, and as always, thank you for joining us. We know you could be anywhere in the world right now doing anything you wanted, and today you are hanging out with myself and our amazing guest, Liz Grossman, who is the Managing Director of Baobab, which is a consulting firm, but we'll dive into the uniqueness and the cool things that they're doing. So welcome to the show, Liz.
Thank you very much.
I love to get a bit of an understanding of your journey and how you kind of came to where you are today. Was it always written in the stars? And I'm imagining with your company, it probably wasn't at the age of 10 years old.
No, it was not.
So what did growing up look like for you?
Well, I grew up outside of Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, in the U.S. I grew up Jewish, still am Jewish, and I went to a Quaker high school. So those kind of spiritual experiences formed me to have like a very open mind and to be very exploratory and inquisitive. In high school, I was doing Model UN. I was learning French, always really curious about the world around me. And when I went to university, I went to Northwestern University outside of Chicago, and I was supposed to go on study abroad as part of my academic course. And I didn't want to go to France because I had already been there once and thought it was really similar to the US, which was wrong, but I was young then. And I decided to go to Cameroon in West Africa. And that's when everything kind of changed. I went thinking I would be there for 4 months and come home, but what I found was an intense sense of hospitality and warmth. People were intellectually and culturally curious and proud of who they are, and I just wanted to keep learning more. So I ended up going back the following summer, stayed for 3 months, and then after that, after I graduated, said, I need to get back to Africa. I don't know where, I don't know doing what. And that's when I got a job teaching in Dakar, Senegal. And that's kind of how the journey unfolded. A 2-year contract teaching turned into 3. That encouraged me to go to get my master's in international education policy at Harvard. From there, I was introduced to the concept of social entrepreneurship, which I had never heard of before. I had heard of entrepreneurship, but not social entrepreneurship. And from there, started developing another business. I pitched the business, crowdfunded for the business, got back to Senegal after my master's, and found many challenges in starting my own business at that young age. And kind of from there, took another job in an NGO. And that also was formative because it gave me an example of an organization working in Africa across many different contexts, and taught me quite a bit. And all of these experiences on the continent, and then coming back to America and explaining what I had seen in Africa and my perceptions, and seeing that a lot of people were understanding it very, very incorrectly. That's kind of what led me to found my own company, to kind of make my own rules and do what I think is best to serve the greater good for my own country, America, and for the continent of Africa.
It's extraordinary, and it sounds like there's been some obvious challenges there. What is it that your company does to serve both of them and to on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So Baobab Consulting is a mission-driven boutique consulting firm specializing in strategy, communications, and training, all with the mission to promote mutual understanding and equitable collaboration between Africa and the U.S. So we were founded in April of 2016. My co-founder is Senegalese, and he was a Fulbright scholar and has his interests in both contexts as well. And so we started as a team of 2. In June of 2017, we expanded our team, became 7, and now we are a team of 10, spanning 3 major U.S. cities: Nigeria, South Africa, Senegal, Canada, and Burundi. And all of our work is remote, and we have representatives in all these different places that help our clients on the ground when they need support from somebody local.
Cool. And so if we were to delve down another level, what does your client receive, and I guess how do they receive that?
Sure. So it depends on the client. So we have had a broad list of people that we've worked for. We've worked for the government of Senegal, developing trainings on entrepreneurship for students. We've worked with a social enterprise in Nigeria to help them expand their communication and visibility strategy to the United States. We've also worked for a Senegalese fashion designer and hosted a pop-up shop in New York City for her. Right now, we also work with a public figure named Joyce Banda, who is the former president of the Republic of Malawi. We help her with her communications, her strategy, and making sure that she, gets her messages across to the different audiences that she speaks to, and make sure that she is fairly compensated for her work and for her initiatives. So those are just some examples. We are also really excited because in a couple of weeks, the end of March, we are launching our first educational program. So we believe that all of these relationships and being able to work together starts with young people, and we have to teach them how to do that. So we have a group of 13 American students coming to Senegal for an experiential learning trip, which will be alongside Senegalese students as well, focused on entrepreneurship and intercultural collaboration.
Cool. And just to give everybody, and myself included, some context, obviously Africa is a vast nation of different socioeconomic standards and things like that. What does it look like in the countries that you're working with? Is it struggling to eat on the daily? Is it a developing nation? And where does it sit in that space?
Well, as you said, it is very different. Different countries have different contexts. We work with people all across the continent. One of the organizations that we support is called the Rainmaker Enterprise, and they are working to promote dignity through water, giving farmers water in South Sudan, for example. South Sudan is a country that is facing a lot of conflict. I have a client who works, and their office is in Liberia, which is a nation which is rebuilding after a long period of civil war. But also we work in contexts like Johannesburg in South Africa and Accra in Ghana. So it really just depends on who we're working with and what we're doing. What I find is that's really important is that when you're working in these contexts, and me especially, if I'm not from that context, I want to surround myself with the folks who do understand it and who can make us more effective in delivering what we need to deliver. So, for example, my team member in Johannesburg helped one of our clients when he was coming for a mission, to actually say, here's where you should go, here's who you should talk to, here's the way to approach it. And she set everything up in South Africa. That was not me. So I really promote local intelligence and making sure that when we enter into a context that we have the right people who can help us do the best work.
Yeah, nice. And I mean, I'm sure there's logistical challenges in having, different countries that you're dealing with, but at the same time, the beauty of technology is it makes the world extremely small at times. If there's an internet connection and a computer or a phone or something to help connect that world.
Exactly. And what's cool about what we're building too is that we're entirely remote. Many of the team members have never actually met in person, and we just communicate via WhatsApp, we communicate via Zoom, we communicate via email, and we're able to do that. I mean, obviously, there's nothing replaces a face-to-face conversation, but we're able to do quite a bit and get quite a lot done by being at a distance.
Yeah. And so what's some of the growing pains, whether it be from a business point of view or dealing with government organizations in Africa? What's some of the things that you've learned and have maybe been a struggle, but you've learned, and maybe some ways you've overcome them?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of struggles. I think that at least when I first got to Cameroon, I think it was a struggle of just trying to understand where I was. I came from a very different place. How to learn what the people actually want and need, and how to work with them to have both goals achieved, because both sets of goals are important in that relationship. I think growing pains is like the way that I am used to working as an American is very different than a lot of my colleagues in different countries across Africa. So it was a challenge that I've learned over many years of, how to grapple with what I think is the right way to get things done with my opinion. I'm also very opinionated, so I don't keep quiet, but how do you get those opinions across in a way that's actually respecting the people that you're working with? And I think those are lessons that can be applied in almost any business relationship at all, but it's especially deep when you're coming from completely different contexts.
Is there a time is Africa like some of the islands down in the Pacific down here, where it's run on island time, as in 2:00 means whenever, and things might take a bit longer, or is that not an African trait as well?
Well, I mean, I do hate to generalize, but I think the concept of time is definitely different. Like, for example, in New York City, when everything is like, the trains run at this time, go, 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 time is money. Whereas in the context in Africa that I've worked in, like relationships are more important.
Mm.
So, you know, you need to put in the time that it takes to get what you need done. Like, for example, when I was working in an office in Senegal, I know that even if I needed something done really, really fast, if I didn't go and ask, how's your family? How is work? How is your daughter? Isn't the weather lovely today? And then I would get what I needed. But if you come in like a New Yorker and you say, hey, I need this now, you're never going to get it. So I think a lot of it is just adapting your strategy, and remembering that like everyone in the relationship is a human being, and everybody in the relationship has their different perspectives, and making sure that everyone gets what they need in a way that makes everybody feel good at the end of the day. So even if, you know, if you're waiting a long time to meet somebody and you're frustrated, like what I would do is I would like bring my computer, and I would just expect that I might have to wait a little bit longer if I was going to certain places. Or bring a book, or do something that would make me mentally prepared to be like, okay, if I have to waste an hour, I'm at least going to be productive in that hour. So I think it's just kind of learning those little, you know, those little tricks to jump over the hurdles of, you know, having to work in a way that's different than what you expect.
Yeah, and it's just and understanding, it's not all your beliefs and your lifestyle that you've grown up with. It's different in every country. With to give myself and everyone out there a bit more of an understanding when it comes to how would an organization or an individual find your company? How do you find who to team them up with who you've got on your team? And then how does that relationship go forward?
Well, what I find is that people will get in touch with one of the members of my team, usually me, but sometimes others. And sometimes they'll start by thinking like, maybe we're fundraiser, maybe we can get them money, maybe we can do that. But then we kind of explain to them more that it's not necessarily about fundraising. It's about like building a strategy and building the messaging that can help you then get to the fundraising level. So your question is, you know, how do we find clients? How do clients find us?
Yeah.
A lot of it is through networking, and a lot of it is through the people that we have already worked with, or the people that have already seen our work. So, for example, with President Banda, I was put in touch with her because mentor of mine needed somebody for her job to come and write a policy toolkit for this head of state. And I was available. I could do that. She knew me. She had known me before, and I had actually helped her with an event out in Dakar a couple of years before. So it was like that help got me visibility. Then that visibility put me on the radar for when she needed a consultant. And then from there, kind of facilitated that relationship to continue even after the project was done. So so far our clients have really come from the people that we know, and also just one of our clients came from meeting at a conference, and then just making sure that when you're at a conference or you're at one of those like quote networking events, which I don't typically like, that you're not just taking a business card and sending a generic email back, that you're actually thinking about what it is you can do for that person and how to show them that in these communications.
I think that's an important skill that everybody should learn, regardless of your business, because it's really.
I'm not about the networking game, it's
it's great. If you can, I've literally been to networking events where a guy had to leave while there was a speaker on, and I hadn't spoken to him, and just handed three of us his business card and left. And I was like, it's not networking. You can throw it on the ground. It's like,
And that's one of the, one of the tips I have for young entrepreneurs is, knowing how to do that and knowing what you should ask and what you shouldn't ask, how you should even present yourself. It's an art, and it's hard, and it doesn't come naturally to many people. So it's really something that like it takes practice and it takes concerted effort to get good at.
Mm. And I agree. I mean, I help people with their public speaking, and it's exactly the same thing. There's some people who are more naturally confident, but it doesn't mean they're naturally better speakers. And but it's a learned skill. It's like riding a bike. Nobody likes walking into a networking room by themselves, not knowing anybody. Everyone will find I've got to get 12 glasses of water or another coffee, or, oh, I better go to the toilet, or I've got to check a couple of emails because I want to avoid making that first conversation.
Yeah.
But then I think it's the art of finding those who you want to go, that one person that you'd want to go deep into a conversation with, and not going deep into the conversation with somebody who may not be, both of you may not be beneficial to each other. You might get on well, but like you say, there's a lot to it, and it's probably a whole another episode. But
I was going to say we could talk about that for another hour if you'd like.
In regards to your day, what does a day look like for you in the normal world? Is there a normal day, or is it putting out fires and mentoring people and chasing things?
Not really a normal day, I'll tell you that. A lot. So I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. So I have a small office out of my house, and then some days I'll go into the city, go into Manhattan and go to a co-working space, or go to a coffee shop and just do my computer kind of work. But then I'm also often going to different events. I accompany my clients to events often. And then I'm often traveling as well. So on the days that I'm traveling, I really have no normal day. It just depends where I am. And yeah, I like the flexibility of, knowing that your computer is your office. So especially since I'm living in New York City and I'm relatively new here, I like going to different places and setting up kind of my office in different environments as much as I possibly can. And but the typical work of the day would be, I'm usually on WhatsApp chatting with people about different projects, or I'm on my email, or I'm on Skype talking to different either clients or team members, writing proposals for this, writing reports for that, and just kind of running around.
Nice. And then in that same regard, so obviously there's got to be a lot of in the entrepreneurship world, and particularly in the social entrepreneurship, there's got to be a lot of intrinsic self-drive and I'd say discipline, or attempt at discipline, when you haven't got necessarily a boss looking over you, or a manager looking over you telling you to do this or that. What would your best skill or attribute, doesn't have to be in discipline or anything, be in your business, and what's the one that you feel like you need to improve on the most, or might hamper you at times?
Okay, well, the one that I have to improve on is I want everybody to love me. Like that's, I really am, I'm like always smiley and happy, and I want to be inclusive, and I want everybody to feel like life is good. And so then when people don't feel that way, I take it very personally. And as an entrepreneur, and especially now as I'm working with, former presidents and people who wish to be presidents. And I'm seeing like all of the nasty media that comes their way, and like smear campaigns, and people out there are generally kind of harsh. And I face that too. And I need to get better at facing that. And then I guess the habit that contributes to my success, I think, is just my ability to communicate and follow up with people. And again, I guess that's the wanting to make everybody happy thing. Like I get joy from making people feel happy and satisfied. So I always want to find ways to do that. And I think when and then the other, I guess, habit or reason why I keep going is that I just believe in changing the narrative about Africa. And I believe that as an American, I have a special role to play as an American who went, I spent 6 total years in Dakar, and I was living with Senegalese people. I wasn't living, in the American bubble. I was actually with these people and understand as much as I can understand some of the realities that they're facing. And that keeps me going to know that, I'm now here in America and I can do my best to use my experiences and my voice to advocate and advocate on behalf of even my people as well to those on the continent. Because right now, our reputation globally isn't great, and I'm at least an ambassador for something maybe that is positive.
Yeah, I was about to say both of those things. No, I don't want to start international warfare.
Please don't, but you get
it. And that, but that's the thing. And I would highly recommend if you get the chance while you're traveling. This is a blatant self plug, but this is for good reason as well. Listen to my 100th episode, or read the book Chapter 1 by Daniel Flynn, and thank you. And it's another social enterprise group who's doing some amazing things in Australia, but will soon be doing amazing things around the world. With they sell, for every bottle of water they sell, they provide, it's just 100% back into the business. They provide clean drinking water in Africa, or for the food that they sell, it provides sustainable food in different places in the world practices. And for their hygiene products, it provides different hygiene education or products around the world and things like that. And they're making a huge impact. But it's something that I think may not give you inspiration, but I think seeing these other social enterprise companies in the space is can be inspiring, and definitely was for me.
Yeah, I always, one of the pieces of advice I always have to people is learn as much as you can about who else is doing impactful work, because so I take your suggestion with excitement, because the more knowledge that I have about the other players out there, the more I can be of assistance, and the more that I can build meaningful relationships and partnerships with those who are like-minded and really focus on impact.
And that's it. You don't need to save the world by yourself or reinvent the wheel along the way, or there's no perfect end game for what it all looks like. So when I was listening to your story, and I guess just the excitement in your voice, it was very, very similar to when I talked to Daniel. And I think you'd really enjoy what they're up to. They raised about $1.5 million from book sales, where you could pay any amount. But I'll send you that video afterwards. It'll get you excited. So
cool.
Leading into that, final question: 2 years time, what's your business doing, and where are you doing it?
2 years, I would say. The business is going to still be, New York, Senegal, Lagos, maybe even more. I think in 2 years, we will have established our mechanisms to be able to take on more clients, to be doing some more of this work to address a wider range of people. Our student trips in 2 years, we will be doing those at least 3 trips to Senegal, and by then I would like us to be looking at other contexts as well. And as for the clients that I'm currently working with, I'm just hoping that I'll be able to seed them with more revenue, with more impact as well. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to continue the relationships I have with my current clients, and see them to their success as well.
That's awesome. Well, I'd like to just say thanks for coming on, and I'd love to welcome you to the Youngpreneurs family. If people are wanting to get behind what you're doing, find out more about what you're doing, or just follow along on the journey, where can they go and what can they do?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, LinkedIn. That's at Liz Grossman 87. You can check out our website, which is http baobab-consulting.net. And just email me, send me a message. Like I said, I'm all about talking to people and hearing other people's stories. And from there, good things can happen. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll link all of that in the show notes at passiveincomeyoung.com. Again, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to following the journey and seeing it all unravel over the next couple of years, and maybe touching base again then.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Youngpreneurs podcast. This was proudly brought to you by the Podcast Institute, the #1 training resource to take your business from chasing leads to leads chasing you, and from an absolute amateur to a full-blown authority. If you're looking to take your business to the next level, then a podcast is the obvious answer. You can get national and global exposure in a very fast time, and it's just exactly what I've done with this podcast. So if you want to find out more, get a checklist on how you can get started for under $60, and to find out more through a small training video that I've prepared for you all, then please check out passiveincomeyoung.com/podcast training.